All right, so good day out there. Good to get through the film with the guys and move on um, to Vanderbilt. We've got a chance to play in front of our home crowd, which we're going to need. You see evidence all the time of how important crowds are. You just saw it last week. The effect of our cadence and our fall starts playing at Auburn, and how much that affects you. And our crowd's been great this year lately. And so we need it again. And we've seen it help impact games. So hopefully it's a great crowd, good kickoff time, great weather. So hopefully show up, just like we ask our players to do.
Lane, obviously talked about it a little bit yesterday. Trey Harris playing a lot in the slot. I know Dayton had a lot of experience in that role at Western Kentucky. What about Trey made him a fit for what you were trying to do there?
Well, I mean, some of that's kind of game planish and stuff. But I mean, I guess you kind of figure Trey's a longer body. Does a really good job blocking in there, and we had some perimeter plays and things like that, and those guys had really good physical DBs, and I think that's a really good secondary, especially with Zero coming back. I think he's a really elite player. So we just had to do different things just to try to move the ball.
Third downs have been a bit of an issue this year offensively. What has been the biggest issue on that front, and how do you fix it now?
Yeah, we've had this for whatever reason almost every other year as you look at the third down stats. And, it's usually a combination of a lot of things, whether it's, missed blocks and protection. Now, we probably will never be top in third downs the way that we play now, because so much of our third downs are we're going for on a fourth down in the way we call plays and stuff, which I don't think is a secret anymore. So, but, we didn't execute and we didn't beat man-to-man in certain things. And, if you don't beat man-to-man and protect long enough, and make accurate throws and put all that together, then you're going to keep getting it. And we've been getting that now for a couple of weeks.
Lane, you compared, you thought this was more like the 2021 season after that loss to Alabama and regrouped and strung off wins. And you've credited a lot of that this year. So you felt like this is more of a team, not just with good players, but a full kind of team. Was there something you noticed before the season in camp to give you that idea, or is it something you just had to see as the season progressed?
No, I think you see it more in adversity. Everybody's got, I always call it the first day of camp. Everybody's excited and does well and everything. That's easy. I think it's more when games don't go well early on in the game, which what we've come from behind in 3 games, I think, and come back to win. Or you lose a game like Alabama, and then you hit adversity and you see those type of things and how players react. And everybody says they're all in right away. Kind of like life. When adversity happens, okay, then really what do they do? And when things don't go their way and they're not playing exactly how they wanted to, as many snaps as they wanted or getting the ball as much, then what happens? So that's where I feel like this team's been different.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lane, but with Xavier Harris not making the trip this past Saturday, do you anticipate him being back this weekend?
We do. That was medical. So he was not cleared to play.
What kind of stands out to you about Vanderbilt?
I think they've battled some injuries on defense. I think they're really, really well coached. They gave us problems last year, especially in the first half. I think that, they do a good job of knowing what they do and what they have and utilizing it. And so, we've got to keep improving. We've got to put together a complete game. I know I kind of say that every week, but we need to do that. And we need to get more players playing well. I think defensively, we've done a good job getting more players involved. Offensively, we've kind of backtracked on that and overplaying players again. And you saw it with, especially like Trey Harris and some guys playing too many snaps.
Only piggybacking off of that, you've gained more confidence with your defense. Seems like maybe you've slowed down a little bit offensively. Is that based on your scheming for the particular opponent, or just the fact that we're getting better defensively?
We just try to do whatever it is to win that game to get to 1-0. And so we didn't really necessarily slow down tempo as much, but we slowed down, conservativeness, I would say, in that game. And I think that that's kind of different than years ago that I used to be, where I just say we're going to do whatever we do, and really watching that. And, so when you can see the run pass ratio, whatever it was, 11, I don't know, whatever, we were 10 or 11 of 17 passes or something, and all the rushing attempts, that shows you, for a team that at one point this year was a passing team considered, that I'm just trying to win the game. And at times there, once we got the lead, play the defense.
Lane, historically at Ole Miss, night road games in the SEC, no coach has been over 50% winning those. You're sitting at 5-2, which is good for about 71%. Anything particular you tell a team going into a hostile environment to be so successful as you've been here as head coach?
Well, I know a lot of analytics. I didn't know that one, so thank you. The SEC in general, I mean, I know I actually looked this morning because I get a report about the home and road, and I don't know this for other conferences. I think that the home and road thing in the SEC is bigger than any other conference. I think you have dramatically really hard places to play here, and here, just like Saturday night, even Auburn having, a down year. I mean, that was an electric place, and we got major cadence issues going on in the game that we can't hear. And it didn't help that someone behind our bench, one of their fans, had a whistle too. So, but I don't know why we've had success at night. I mean, it's hard in this conference. I personally think, even though we had some false starts, that tempo offense helps playing on the road in really loud places versus the old school, huddle and cadence part. So I think it kind of makes it harder for fans to know really when to be loud because you're going so fast. Now, when you're having some 3 and outs, it works against you, like you did in the game. But so I don't really know that. I just know it's really big. It's why I'm trying to encourage our fans so much to come out and be the same way they were in Arkansas and especially LSU, because that's what they want our players to do. They want our players to show up every week, or they don't like that and complain about that. So we're hoping for the same thing from them.
Perkins gets his first, I think, weekly SEC honor this week, just leading close to the top or leading in key defensive stats. Has he met the maybe internal expectations you and Pete had for him, or do you feel like maybe he's catching on at this level faster than maybe y'all thought he might?
I mean, we knew he was really special. I don't know there was any way to know he was this electric fast. I mean, now you've seen him, at different times catch 2 of the fastest quarterbacks in America, and last week in Alabama. So he's just really, really special and a phenomenal kid. And, what we call culture one around here, no issues, just wants to get better, just wants to be coached and do the right things and not worried about all the external stuff, which is very refreshing nowadays with these kids.
Lane, following up on something Jake asked earlier about when you're bringing in so many guys out of the portal, obviously you're looking for guys who can play, but how much from what you've learned over the last couple of years did you guys emphasize evaluating personality and character and that kind of thing, maybe more so than you had in the past?
A lot, because I think that, the challenge now in general, but especially if you're heavy portal, is culture. And every year you got to restart. You have so few guys that really know what it was, before. And so it's important what you bring in. You can't just change everybody. It doesn't work like that. And we've seen where it hasn't. And unfortunately, they're not here. So it is important to evaluate that. And we do more than ever. I kind of call it more like the Patriot way, of really evaluating the free agents you bring in, Belichick, and how they're going to work with your culture and what you have. And so we continue to move that up the level of importance, along with obviously playmaking ability. Because again, if you only were taking a couple and you had 90% of your culture returning and not everybody, because half your roster leaves, even, so it's you can't take as much when you don't have it set. You can't take as much risk and bring him in if you don't have it set, like a veteran team.
I mean, hard hitting one here. Has Juice's evolution into, I guess, kind of like a mascot, somebody who you put on recruiting pamphlets, who's on all of this, stuff for you guys, has that been intentional at all in any way, or is that just kind of happen?
That really wasn't. There was no intention when Landry talked me into going out there and wanted a dog. So there was no plan behind that. Kind of really like Twitter initially, there wasn't a plan, and it just kind of started morphing into that. So, to be really clear, most of the stuff they do, I don't even know, like whatever you talk about, pamphlets. And I mean, this dog's gone all the time, and I'm like, ask where he is. And they're like, oh, he's got two showings today and 2 appointments, and he's invited to grand openings and all these things. They're like, oh, he'll be back at 8 o'clock. I'm like, it's like having a kid or something, so I don't really do near as much as you would think on that. I think sometimes he tweets so then I don't have to exactly take credit for what he says.
Also, Cedric Johnson getting some weekly honors as well. I know this is a guy that you've had from the very beginning since you've gotten here. Just from, when you first arrived here to kind of where he is now, where have you seen kind of the biggest growth in him, just both on and off the field?
He's been awesome all along. I mean, he's just grown as a better player and stronger and bigger and faster. But like I just referred to, we have Culture One guys that are elite thinkers, elite team players. We say it's not about them. It truly is about the team. And that is not the case all the time. So he's awesome at having people around, at working with young kids. He's one of our favorites.
You've had 3 pretty emotional games in a row. How do you avoid it's just Vanderbilt syndrome with the players?
I mean, we pointed out some big upsets, that just happened, especially, really big one over in the ACC. So, and these guys were beating us at halftime last year. And so we got a lot of work to do, a lot of things to work on. So it's a lot more about us than who we're playing.
Back on the stadium talk real quick. How far do you think Vaught-Hemingway Stadium has come, home field advantage wise, and where would you kind of rank it, I guess, within the SEC?
I mean, I would say it depends on where you're starting. I remember when we were here at Alabama and lost, it was electric and it was great. And then we had the COVID, and then, I think I've said the first couple of years there was some really disappointing games. Just like our fans say, they're really disappointed in me in some games and our players. And this year, for whatever reason, has felt a lot better in the conference games, and it's an advantage. I mean, we've seen the false starts that people have had and the issues that they've had in games, especially late in games, because of our crowd. And our student section has definitely come a long ways and has been really not just show up but be electric.
You may have just answered my question right there, but it was kind of one of the things that you talked about, early last year, where you basically said it was kind of discouraging at times, just the kind of the crowd that was out there. I know kickoff time has something to do with that, but just with that never really being an issue so far, do you feel like that this fan base has kind of gotten the message about that, or just how important that actually is?
I don't know. It seems like it's been different this year, and so I don't know exactly why, but I'm glad it is. I mean, I remember, whatever our record was, we were pretty highly ranked 2 years ago when we played Vanderbilt, and if I remember right, it was one of Matt's last game or something like that, and the place was, let's just say, not electric. So it seems like we've come a long ways, and hopefully this week will be an example of that.
Last 3 games, kind of won in 3 different ways, or you've had different styles. What has kind of impressed you through this 3-game stretch the most?
I mean, I think the last 2, the defense and the way that they've played, the way they've stopped the run for the most part, besides one really long run, and really just the way they've been on the sidelines as a team, and not getting discouraged and staying into it and overcoming whatever adversity has happened. And 2 of those being home, 1 of those being road games. So it's been really good. I'm very pleased with where this team is as far as their attitude and how hard they play. We just got to do some things better. All right, guys, thanks.